Hello parents and professionals. Today I'm going to be talking about responsibility, but specifically from a mental health perspective, and even more specifically in relation to anxiety. I recently had a conversation with our HR department at our office, and it was a very tricky pill for me to swallow because they said to me, the mental health of the individuals in your office is their responsibility and not yours. And that was not an easy thing for me to hear. So if you would like to know how it is that you empower other people to take responsibility for their mental health and specifically their anxiety, then just keep on watching because we're going to figure this out together because I still haven't entirely wrapped my head around it. I am not a parent, and technically I'm not a trained teacher, although I do teach. However, I think I can probably associate to what a lot of parents and teachers go through when you have a young person in front of you who is struggling with a mental health challenge such as anxiety. I say that because I am someone who works in mental health, and when somebody comes to me with a mental health problem, I probably can give them some really good ideas about how they can start to resolve that issue for themselves. And I find it very, very difficult to zip my mouth and not solve people's problems when I know exactly what they need to be doing. And I've come up against this challenge in a couple of scenarios recently. One is in my office and the other one is amongst my friendship group. And a little while ago, I was speaking to our HR department and talking about the mental health of the people that work for my organisation and what other things I can do to help support them to have healthier mentality and less anxiety in their lives. And the HR consultant that I spoke with said, their mental health is their responsibility. And it kind of made me feel funny because I am just not used to thinking in that way. In fact, I'm very good at taking over and telling everybody exactly what they should be doing. Now, here's the thing. Do they do it? No. Mostly they do not. And that's because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink unless you grab its head and shove it really hard into the water over and over again. And even then, there's still no guarantee it's going to drink. So what do we do instead? What we have to do is literally just the leading them to water part, fingers crossed, and hope for the best. But there is a good reason for doing so. And that is that we allow other people to take responsibility for their own health, which does a few useful things for them. Number one, it allows them to become good problem solvers, and we like that a lot. Number two is it means that when they have challenges in the future, they won't necessarily need to lean on others quite as much because they have already learned some strategies for being able to manage themselves properly. And number three is that we are helping them to develop resilience. If whenever a young person in your life is in some kind of pain or discomfort in some way, you take it and you hold it for them to lessen the burden, that can only be good for so long because eventually they don't have the full experience of having the problem. And that is a very compassionate thing for you to do, but you're going to get exhausted and you're going to wear yourself out, and it was never your problem to begin with. So I want to give you a couple of strategies here to make sure that we are being fair in how we deal with people when they have mental health challenges, but to also make sure that we are not taking on the problem fully and completely for ourselves and turning it into our own project. So here's what I want you to consider. Sometimes it's not about the things that they or you need to start doing. We're very good at going, oh, I have a friend here, or I have a child here who is experiencing a mental health challenge. What do we need to find? What's the strategy? What's going to be the technique? What's going to be the intervention? What's going to solve the problem? We're very good at kind of, scouting around in the world around us and going, where is the solution? What can I find? What do I need to put in front of them to help this problem go away? Sometimes it's not about the things that you start. Sometimes the solution is in the things that you stop. In business, if the business isn't making money, you can either go more sales, which is what most people do, like quick, we need more sales. But the other way to make money in a business is to spend less. So you stop doing something rather than starting to do something else. And the same principle applies here. If we have a young person in front of us who is struggling with a mental health issue, the solution might not be to go find something new for them to start, a new therapist, a new intervention for them to work with. It might be about figuring out what do we need to stop. Remember that our young people are under bags of pressure these days, and maybe they're all doing, too many after school clubs. I always go to that one first. Maybe there is a little bit too much homework. Maybe it's the GCSE pressure. Maybe it is too much social life. Maybe they need a little rest from that. Maybe it is staying up at night. Maybe it is getting rid of the Xbox. What things can we stop in order to help solve the problem? Secondly, thing number 2 is that it's really important that you are demonstrating, or in NLP terms, we call it modeling, the behaviors and reactions that you want to see from them. So what I mean by this is, let's say that you have an anxious young person around you. Let's say this is someone living in your house. Sometimes what happens when someone is feeling very delicate and fragile and that anxiety level is really high, is we have an inclination to start tiptoeing around them and being very gentle with them. And what that does is it holds their anxiety in place. It means that we're hoping things are not going to get any worse, but the likelihood is things are also not going to get any better, because now we've all started doing a dance around the anxiety. Now this thing is running the dynamics. What we need to do instead is have empathy, have sympathy, point them in the directions for problem-solving strategies, but business as usual. Life must go on in spite of that anxious stuff happening for that young person, because otherwise, if we start to construct our world around that thing, it is as if we have given it physical form, and it's like a new thing has come to live in the family home. Now we're all working around this thing like it's a new pet, and actually that's not the way forward at all. So make sure that in terms of how you behave, how you react, be the way that you want them to be, rather than tiptoeing around. How was everything today? Do you feel well enough to go into school today? None of that. We're kind of out there, upwards, forwards, behaving the way that we would want to see them behaving, so that they feel more inclined to move back to a normal situation, rather than seeing that the situation has been redesigned to work around their abnormality. And the final thing, so in line with giving them responsibility, like I was saying at the very beginning, you are responsible for your own mental health. In line with that, I have created a program. Now, I actually made this program years ago, and this program has already been in a pilot study to demonstrate how effectively it helps children and young people aged between 8 and 11 years to overcome anxiety and a little bit also depression, although that wasn't on the menu. This was an added bonus that I hadn't expected to happen. So I did this in 2019. I had a group of 13 children who came to the office, and each week I presented them with about an hour's worth of NLP for Kids content that was designed to help them develop new skills to manage their anxiety, and in some cases get rid of the anxiety completely. The results of our study I will include in the description box for this particular video if you want to go and learn more about what happened in the pilot study. I can tell you it was very good things. So right now I'm partnered with a university where I'm running the program again, but this time rather than taking place live at our office, it's in a video series format, and I'm giving access to you for free under these conditions. Your child or young person or young people in your class need to be aged 8 to 11 years of age. They must first undertake a questionnaire, which is 25 questions, which helps to measure their anxiety levels. And then our system that has been designed and built will randomly allocate them to one of two groups. In one group, you get instant access to the first video in the Overcome Anxiety video series. And then you get the next one the next week, and the next one the week after that. For 10 weeks, there are 10 videos in total. And at the end of the 10 weeks, you then complete the 25 questionnaire again, so that we can see the difference between where their anxiety was at the beginning and where their anxiety is after watching all 10 videos. Some people will not get that first video on week 1. Some people will do the questionnaire, 25 questions, and then they will have a 10-week wait before they receive their second questionnaire. So the people in that group are being tested to see if their anxiety cleared itself up throughout that period of 10 weeks without seeing any of my videos. However, I'm still going to give you the whole video series afterwards because you were very patient and waited for 10 weeks, which I really, really appreciate. And that information is all going to get collated and statistically evaluated so that we can see what impact the video series has for these young people with anxiety. It is completely free to join, and you will have lifetime access to it. Once the study is completed, and I only need 50 people to go through it completely for the study to be classed as completed. Once that is done, we will then release a productized version of the 10-week video series without the questionnaires involved, because we won't be collecting any data then, and it will be available for purchase. So if you know a child or a young person, maybe it's someone in your family, maybe it's someone in your class at school, maybe it's your entire class in school, then make sure that you head on over to nlp4kids.org.uk and get those young people signed up for this video series. Now, here's the reason why I'm sharing this with you. Obviously, this is a little bit of a shameless plug, but also the important thing about having this in a video series is we are giving complete authority to these young people to log themselves into the platform, to watch the video, go through the worksheets, leave a comment if they want to. So I'm moderating all of the comments that come in, that they make on what they've seen in the videos. And they're basically going to be working with me almost as if I was their favourite YouTuber, but I'm actually teaching them some really helpful stuff about how to manage their anxiety levels. So please make sure that you go check out that content if it is relevant to you, and keep in mind everything else that I've said today about making sure that other people's mental health is their responsibility. You can present them with all of the options, but it's always up to them to take the action. Even when I'm working with a client one-on-one and being paid for it, the very best I can do is teach them the techniques, tell them how it works, show them how to practice it, but it's up to them to keep putting it into action in their daily lives. And so even then it applies that the very best you can do is be there for people and show them what's available to them, but it's up to them to take control of their mental health. So please go check out the Overcome Anxiety video series, and you can help empower the young people in your life to take control of their anxiety and to be in charge of their own well-being. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.